Hi, my name is Amy Doweiler, and thank you very much for coming. So, today I'd like to talk about too many mice. Have you ever read the story by Brenner? It is a children's story about how these people have too many mice. So they get cats. And then they have too many cats, so they get some dogs, and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, they have an elephant in the room. And how do you get rid of elephants? Mice. Well, this is a cute little story, but it's also a cautionary tale about how things can escalate quickly. Yes, microgreen gardening has escalated quickly. That is why this story has been on my mind so much lately. So, why is it? What exactly has been escalating now? Well, I started using soil microgardening. Well, let's take even a further step back. I had an extra shelf that I moved underneath my kitchen cabinet, and so all I needed to do was buy some lights. And I also had some soil in the house because I sometimes make cat grass for my cats. So I already had soil. So I decided to go with soil microgreen gardening. And so I bought a starter kit and some lights, and it wasn't so bad. But then I got the soil, and I realized, oh, you know what? I'm gonna need more soil. And then with the pandemic and everything, the soil took forever to arrive. I had forgotten I had ordered soil, and again, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be going through so much soil. So I ordered some soil again, but then I didn't realize it was a 2-pack. So now I have so much soil. But at the same time, it seems really wasteful to just throw the soil away when I'm done with growing the microgreen. It's only like a 15-day grow cycle. It's not sustainable to keep buying soil. So I started researching. What are my options for reusing the soil? Well, at first, I just tried to reuse it directly. This makes sense. Soil is in the ground. Things grow in the ground all the time. It's not always very clean. However, this wound up with a mold problem, a very visible mold problem. And when I actually researched it, there's other pathogens and harmful bacteria that I need to be careful about so I do not make myself sick. So what are my other options? Well, composting. And composting is kind of hard to do when you're inside. I live in a condo. There is no, oh, just place it in your backyard. There is no backyard for me to be doing any of this stuff. And it turns out that I'm not willing to have soil just be damp and filled with mildew and mold in my condo for months at a time. It's not great. So the next option is pasteurization. And this isn't so bad. You heat things up at 140 degrees for a few hours, and then the soil is not full of harmful things, and you can use it again. So what's bad about this option? Well, it makes your house smell bad, apparently. I have not done this yet. I do not have first-hand experience. I was waiting for some equipment that arrived yesterday. And also, there was a couple of things. Oh, yes. It takes forever to separate the organic material from the inorganic material. So you're not really supposed to put like the roots of whatever was there in the oven. It smells better if you have only soil in there. And I don't really have a good sieve, So it's been taking a really long time to do post-harvest activity. It just, yeah. So the final option, oh, not really the final option, the second to last option, is worm farming. And this appeals to me for several reasons. One is worm castings is actually really good fertilizer. So I could be giving the worms the cast-offs, the post-harvest roots, and the stuff that just didn't make it into the harvest, and then they'll turn around, they'll consume that, and their compost is good soil material for me to grow things in. So this seems like a good circular way of, and sustainable way of gardening. The only problems with this are, one, the really nice looking ones are over $150. And I don't know, I don't feel like at the moment I am producing enough stuff to sustain to feed worms and also it turns out that you can't use potting soil with worms. You have to use a different medium, which isn't terrible. You can use a fistful of soil at a time, so I can just transition in the other material. So that's not so bad. And the last option is actually just to switch myself over to using hydroponics, which doesn't actually preclude me from using worm farming. And it also has its own set of problems, and I'm definitely not set up to use hydroponics. So that being said, this is very much escalated, and this is just reusing the soil is one example of how microgreen gardening has escalated. The other thing is lighting, which is something I'm going to be talking about later. And also I bought a 3D printer so that I could have one of something and it be much cheaper than having to buy $50 worth of something online, because right now I'm not going to the dollar store. None of this hobby is worth me risking my own life for. So anyways, if you liked this, and also you have been watching me use a 3D modeling program to create a self-looking basket, which is one of the experiments that I would like to do. So if you have enjoyed watching that while me complaining about how this is escalating a lot, please subscribe, and I'm going to try to do this more often.